first grade. I have another end of the year story that I'd like to share with you. One of my favorite end of the year stories is called Last Day Blues, and it's written by Julie Danberg and it's illustrated by Judy Love. So let's go ahead and start. Actually, before I start, here's what I want you to do. We are going to be practicing all of the things that we have learned as first graders to help us understand what stories, what is happening in stories. And remember, now that we're really good at this, we are using all of these different strategies, sometimes at the same time, in the same book, at the same spot we're reading. So one of the strategies we spent time on, of course, was asking questions. So you know the cover, you can see the cover, and you know the title. I want you to grab your dry erase board, pause the video, and I want you to come up with an I wonder question. Using the information you can see from the title and from the cover, come up with an I wonder question. When your I wonder question is done, come on back to the video and unpause it. Okay, friends, hopefully you have an I wonder question on your board. Let's take a look. On the Monday morning before the Friday, that was the last day of school, Mrs. Hartwell took attendance. She sighed as she called out the last name. "I'm going to miss all of you," she said. The kids nodded in agreement. "I'm going to miss my friends," said Shannon. "I'm going to miss Daisy," said Dan. "I'm going to miss chocolate milk and pizza for lunch," said Joe. Everyone felt a little blue thinking about the last day of school, even Daisy. I love here how the illustrator drew Daisy's face to let us know that she's looking sad too, that this school year is coming to an end. Remember, illustrators can also show what characters are thinking and feeling. It's important for first graders to know. Here's the picture. That afternoon, during recess, the students talked as they hung out on the jungle gym. "Mrs. Hartwell said she's going to miss us," said Alexandra, swinging from a bar. "We should get a present to cheer her up," said Eddie, hanging upside down by his knees. But what could they get her? All right, so boys and girls, we want to think about our schema. What are some of the things that we have given to people that have made them happy? Okay, because this maybe will be a good place to make a prediction. You don't have to write this, but to make a prediction, what are some of the things that you think they might get Mrs. Hartwell so that she's not as sad when this school year ends? Okay, pause the video for a minute, think of at least 2 things, then come on back to me. "I could give her the rest of my sandwich. It's my mom's bologna special," said Josh. "Or a cup of coffee. Or a new pen, the kind with feathers and beads." The students thought and thought, but couldn't come up with one single idea that they all agreed upon. "We'll think of something tomorrow," Eddie assured everyone as they lined up at the drinking fountain. Okay, let's do a little 5-finger retelling. We know good readers stop after they read some pages and they think about the story. They should be able to do their 5-finger or at least talk about the characters, the setting, the problem, and then when that problem is solved. I know that the characters are Mrs. Hartwell and her class, the kids in her class. I also knew that the setting is school. I'm getting an idea that this problem is that the kids don't know the school is coming to an end and they don't know what to get Mrs. Hartwell. They know that she's sad and they want to get something to cheer her up. All right, so now that I've done that check-in and I feel like I understand what's going on in the story, then I can move on in my reading. But good readers have to check in with themselves. They have to say, ooh, in their reading voice, do I understand what's happening? Because if you don't, readers, then sometimes it helps to go back and do some rereading. Even adults have to do that sometimes. On the Tuesday before Friday, that was the last day of school, Mrs. Hartwell read the final page of their last read-aloud book. "I'm going to miss circle time," said Mrs. Hartwell. "I'm going to miss science," said Emily. "I'm going to miss seeing Mrs. Hartwell wear her safety goggles during science," said Jack, giggling. And before they were too sad, Mrs. Hartwell put on her safety goggles one last time. Excuse me, just for fun. All right, boys and girls, before we go on, I want you to check in with the question that you have on your board. Has your question been answered? You don't need to write a sentence if it is, but we do want to make sure that we're checking in with questions to make sure and to see whether we can answer any of them. Excuse me, boys and girls. We definitely need to cheer Mrs. Hartwell up, said Andy during recess as he jumped off a swing. Out of a swing. I have to go back because that did not make sense. Even though the word began the same way, off and out, the endings did not. So as a good reader, I stopped immediately and I went back and reread. Any ideas about a present, Eddie asked. Nope, they all answered back. Oh, I'm pretty sure now that this is the problem in this story. They don't know what to get her for her last day. Oh, Alexa, stop the timer. Sorry, boys and girls, Alexa timer going off. On the Wednesday before the Friday that was the last day of school, Mrs. Hartwell brought in her super duper sugar cookies with extra frosting. I'm going to miss snack time, but I can't wait for barbecues by the pool, said Jack. I'm going to miss recess, but I can't wait to play hide and seek outside after dinner, said Alexa. I'll miss school, but I can't wait for summer vacation, said Josh. The class discussed their summer plans and drowned their last day blues with another round of milk and sugar cookies. I don't know whether to be happy or sad today, Andy said the minute they all arrived at the jungle gym. Mrs. Hartwell is sad, said Olivia. She probably doesn't want the year to end. While we're swimming, she'll be reading her old lesson plans, said Walker. And while we're playing, she'll be trying to remember the fun times we had this year, said Dan. And that's when an idea zip-zapped and zinged through Eddie's brain. I know exactly what will cheer her up, Eddie said, jumping down from the jungle gym. And the class agreed. It was perfect. All right, my question I have here is, what are they going to get her? What did Eddie think of? I do know that in this story, here's where things start to change. They've suddenly thought of an idea of what a nice present that would be. We don't know what the present is yet, but we're starting to see that problem is starting to become, it's called resolved. That means it's starting to become fixed. On the Thursday before the Friday that was the last day of school, Eddie raised his hand right after Mrs. Hartwell started language arts. We need some privacy, please, he said. I'm wondering, hang on, I want to do an inferring piece here. I'm going to take this clue. We need some privacy, please, he said. That's the text clue. And I'm going to combine it with my schema, which is I bet they need some time to get the surprise ready, because I know that sometimes when you plan a surprise for someone, you need to plan and make sure it's all ready to go before you give it to the person. So I'm going to make the inference that this is where they're going to give her surprise gift. And so Mrs. Hartwell took down bulletin boards with her back to the class. She never even peeked. Well, only once. On the morning of the Friday that was the last day of school, the students dashed into the classroom. They snapped open the shades for the very last time. They did their chores for the very last time. They fed Daisy for the very last time. And as soon as the bell rang, they couldn't wait for Mrs. Hartwell to see her present for the very first time. Boy, see, all the kids are in there getting that room ready. Oh boy, I see that they have written a very special message. So I'm going to stop, because now I know, I was wondering what they were getting for her. Now I know that they've created this very special message. I think it might even be a poem because I see some rhyming words. Let's read it. The last day of school makes us so blue. We'll miss recess and pizza and reading too. We'll miss Daisy and cookies and friendship true, snack time and science and learning new. We'll miss spelling bees for our test review and groundhogs that play peekaboo. The year's been great, a big wahoo. There are many things to miss, it's true. But mostly what we'll miss is you. I want you to stop and make an inference, my friends. You don't have to write it down. Think about it in your head. How do you think Mrs. Hartwell is going to feel? What clues can you use from the story? Okay, I'm going to point to one. And then put it in your schema, combine it, and then come up with your new thought or idea. Pause the video and then come back when you have your inference ready. Later on during recess, Eddie said, I think Mrs. Hartwell liked her present. I hope it helps, Margaret said. Poor Mrs. Hartwell, they all said sadly as they pictured their final goodbye. Teachers must hate the last day of school. The teachers, here's what they're thinking as they're waving goodbye. All right, here we go. And then it was time. The bell rang. Goodbye, the students called as they rushed out the door. Goodbye, Mrs. Hartwell called after them. And then she returned to her empty classroom. It's just you and me, Daisy, she said. I'm sure going to miss them this summer. So if your inference was that she was happy about her present, but she's going to miss those kids, you were right. But I can't wait for vacation. Look at the teachers at the end. Can you make some inferences about how they feel using some clues and putting your schema together? All right, friends, nice job using a bunch of strategies. We predicted, we inferred, we asked a question. All of those are things that we made sure that we could retell the story and found the problem and the solution. All of those things are what good readers do.